that's a Rev video. It's a follow-up. Yeah, we're gonna do a follow-up on Dragon Age from Rev. A follow-up for Dragon Age Veilguard. And the headline is BioWare is abandoning Veilguard after disappointing sales, which, for context, Dragon Age has 45,000 players right now. Look at the peaks and valleys. Holy fuck. And those peaks and valleys are going down. They are trending down. Yeah. It peaked at 89,000, which for a AAA game is garbage. This is for Steam. This is Steam. This is SteamDB. So, for context, that's what Dragon Age is tracking at right now. So let's see how BioWare has abandoned Dragon Age.
Hey, what's up, guys? Riff here. So today we're going to be once again talking about Dragon Age the Veilguard, which released about a week ago, and now that it's had the full weekend to spread its...
And by the way, you gotta love that. Granted, that Park Place, I have an issue with their reporting. They have a... I'm not very fond of them. A couple of their articles have been very starkly skewed. So I take anything that Park Place puts out with a hefty grain of salt. Because they very sharply lean in a specific direction for everything they report. They are not even-handed with their reporting. But I will say, the fucking Quagmire build here, I fucking love. I absolutely love that they showcased the Quagmire build for Dragon Age. That is just glorious.
Its wings and achieve its full potential. We now know that full potential is around 89,000 concurrent players. This game failed to reach over 100,000 in-game players at any given moment, which is a big disappointment. Don't let games journalists or anyone else convince you otherwise. This is a very successful and long-running franchise with a huge baked-in audience and a massive budget for this game. This is not the number they were expecting. This is a disappointing number, especially when you compare it to other AAA titles from this year like Black Myth Wukong that got nearly 2.5 million concurrent players for its all-time peak, and compare that to the 89,000 with Veilguard. And looking...
Veilguard needed minimum. Veilguard needed opening numbers of, I would estimate, between 400,000 to 500,000 players to be considered a success. That's my suspicion based upon the money and the level of marketing that they did, because that marketing costs. They wanted 700K at minimum to be considered to be even reasonably considered a success. They needed 500,000 players to be considered even marginally successful. With all the money put into the development and the marketing of the game, they didn't even come close.
At the current numbers right now, the game is sitting at about 55,000.
Yeah, Leo, I've been hearing the same.
Which is obviously disappointing. It's not even been a full week from the release, and it's already starting to taper off. And that is not good news for Veilguard. And on top of that, we're getting some reports from Endymion here saying a source who knows, who works in the retail space with a major store with over 900 locations in America, is claiming there is a mass level of cancellations of physical copies, saying this. So around 14 to 15% of each version of Veilguard was canceled in the last few days by customers across these 900 stores within America alone. And apparently the digital copies are also not good as well. Below 500,000 pre-orders for that, just the digital copy, but the physical copies is close to 200,000, and also it has this high rate of cancellations.
I mean, look at the cancellations. Deluxe Xbox versions, 695 pre-ordered, 108 canceled. Normal Xbox versions, 885 pre-orders, 128 cancels. Deluxe PS5, 1872, 254 canceled. Regular PS5, 3341 pre-orders and 466 canceled. That means we have a total of almost 1,000 canceled. Almost, we've got, what is this? We've got about 6,000 to 7,000 pre-orders, and almost 1,000 of them were canceled for this. Sure, Atanashi, if you've got the number handy, rather than talk about it here, but if you got the number handy, go for it. That's a lot of fucking cancellations. Now, granted, I've said since the very beginning, never pre-order any game. Never buy a game at launch day. Don't pre-order and wait for a game to come out for about a week or a week and a half before you consider buying it. Let someone else be the guinea pig. For any game that comes out today, no matter how awesome it looks, let someone else be the guinea pig to make sure it's worth you spending your money on. Because people, nowadays, the average person cannot afford to spend $60, $70, $80+ dollars on a game only to be disappointed by it. And many times it's going to take you more than the 1 to 2 hours to find that out where you're outside of the return. We're outside of the return window. There is no more, oh, we have to get in on it. Oh, we have to pre-order because we're going to get something really good by pre-ordering. Those days are gone. You do not get anything. You do not get anything of value by pre-ordering anymore. Nothing. Day one stuff, you don't get anything worth noting. And there is not a hype anymore that you have to get it on day one. Because people have been burned by the gaming industry so fucking much within the last several years. I implore you guys in chat, and anybody that happens to watch this video, I implore you, do not ever pre-order a game or purchase one launch day. Let someone else test the game for you. Let someone else be the beta tester for you to find out whether or not it's worth spending that kind of money. Because the average game that people are going to want to spend money on is $60, $70, $80+ dollars. And that's base game. That is fucking base. Don't do it. Your money is worth more. Let someone, don't give in to like some kind of bullshit FOMO. Let someone else beta test the game. If the game is good, there's no need for you to rush in to buy it. There's no need for you to rush out and buy it. Either pre-order day one. The game will still be there if it's good. Think about, be conservative about this and don't piss your money away. Because these days, your money is extremely valuable to you.
This is not a good sign for Veilguard, and to further prove that things are not going very well, Bioware appears to be just giving up.
Quivering Calm, people have been testing for 2 months does not mean it's good. It doesn't. Because you don't know who those people are. You don't know who those people are that have been testing it for 2 months? Let actual gamers be your beta testers when it launches. It's a little bit harsh, but let actual customers, actual gamers, let them beta test it for you. Just be smart about it.
On Veilguard. So in an interview with IGN as well as Rolling Stone, they have confirmed that they're essentially moving on from Dragon Age, the Veilguard, and they're basically rerouting their resources in the company to the next Mass Effect.
And by the way, Blades, you don't have to spend $59.99 on me for the love of God. Layer. Layer? What are you guys talking about? Are you guys talking about the throne again? Are you guys, like, talking about the throne again? Oh, no talking about the throne. No talking about the throne. No. Is this...
Confirmed that they're essentially moving on from Dragon Age, the Veilguard, and they're basically rerouting their resources in the company to the next Mass Effect game. That is now their new focus. They're already abandoning Veilguard 1 week in, and they're saying that basically there's going to be no DLCs, there's going to be no more...
Holy shit. Okay, wait. What are you guys doing?
Paying for Ember's attention.
Leo, thank you. Leo, you don't need to pay for my attention. I appreciate it very much. You don't have to throw money at me for attention. You know I will always pay attention to you guys as much as I can. But thank you. I really do appreciate it. But let's see what Bioware is doing to fuck things up again. With Dragon Age the Veilguard now complete, Bioware confirms that there are currently no plans for DLC. Not good. Yeah, that is the second sound effect. Oh. I need to make that list. Okay. Mods, remind me over the course of this week to put in that list in the stream description. Remind me about that, please. And make note of it. And make sure you make note to me of what's already been discovered. I've got to do that. Well, I'm not sure how many I've got in place so far. That's why I need you to make me a list of what's been found and what hasn't been. Okay. Let's see. And the developers' full attention is now shifted entirely to next Mass Effect. Subscriber report did DBL Bioware is not completely abandoning Dragon Age following its release, but will support the game with quality of life improvements. Fuck. So yeah, Dragon Age, Bioware is fucking a week after launch. They're fucking bailing. Bear in mind, they're shifting entirely to Mass Effect. But think about how heavily Dragon Age Veilguard was promoted. BioWare promoted the ever-living fuck out of this game. They promoted the hell out of it, yes, Leo. For those that have played Dragon Age, I've heard have said DLC was a big part of it. And they're a week out, they're fucking abandoning it. They're saying, yeah, we're fucking done. A week out. That's bad. So what? So, okay. Mass Effect fans, I have a question for you. If they were promoting Dragon Age so fucking hard, they were all in on Dragon Age, especially with the woke shit. They went all in on this, and they went full steam ahead. And a week later, after launch, they're like, okay, we're done. Now we're going to Mass Effect. How do you think they're going to treat Mass Effect? What makes you think they're going to treat Mass Effect any better than how they treated Veilguard, which is, again, one of their Dragon Age is one of their tentpole franchises for BioWare. That is a tentpole for them. How do you think they're going to treat another tentpole, Mass Effect? They're going to treat, yeah. Again, I know some of you guys are major Mass Effect fans and are eagerly anticipating the new Mass Effect. Don't fall into the trap. You've seen what they did with Dragon Age and how much they actually gave a fuck about it once it launched. Once it launched, they're like, yeah, we're done. We threw it out there. We made our bullshit woke statement. We're done. We're moving on to the next thing. Do not pre-order, no matter how good Mass Effect looks. Don't pre-order it. Don't buy it opening day. Please. Your money is important to you guys in this right now, in this modern day. Please don't pre-order it or don't buy it opening launch week. Please. Let someone else be the guinea pig, because I don't have it. I'm not a Mass Effect fan. But I have zero confidence that Bioware will be able to put out a good game with Mass Effect. At all. Well, Revit, it doesn't cost anything to join my stream. So you can FOMO me all you want. It doesn't cost you anything to join my stream except time. Okay, Rotax, have a good night.
Or major updates for this game, they're simply going to provide quality of life improvements and basically bug fixes. They are quite literally abandoning this game one weekend, and yet people are trying to tell you this was some big commercial success when clearly it was a big disappointment.
Nah, look at the comparisons. Helldivers 2, 306,000 players currently. Baldur's Gate. How long ago did Baldur's Gate launch? And it's still got 824,000 players. I have no idea what game this is. I can't read it, but it's got 463,000 players. Oh, is this Mountain Hunt? Is this Monster Hunter? Is it? Oh, it's it's right fucking there. Yeah, Monster Hunter Wilds beta test. Yeah. The First Descendant is at 243, and isn't First Descendant that's free to play. Lethal fucking Company. 114,000 players. Pal World, 1.5 million. Not 105 million. 1.5 million. So 1,500,000. And they're trying to say Dragon Age with its paltry 45,000 is success. Never mind, Lethal Company was made by a dev team about 1/100th or smaller the size of Bioware. And it's 114,000 players.
This is a game with predictably hundreds of millions of dollars in its budget, with a baked-in franchise, and it's just falling flat on its face within the first week. It's just not good. And we're seeing a lot of games journalists coping and trying to find ways to spin the numbers to make it look.
What? EA's biggest single-player launch on Steam? Is Kotaku fucking high? Whichever journalist, note the sarcasm, wrote this tweet or article saying that Veilguard is the biggest single-player launch on Steam needs to get their fucking head examined. Cause Black Myth Wukong came out before this, and I guarantee you, it had a better single-player launch on Steam. I guarantee you. They specify so they specify an EA game. It's the biggest of EA's titles. That's not exactly a dubious honor with EA.
Like Veilguard was a big success, and you can see, of course, Kotaku here saying Dragon Age the Veilguard surprises everyone as EA's biggest single-player launch on Steam. Now, if you're at all knowledgeable with EA and how they do things, especially with single-player games, they typically wait years to release the counterpart on Steam. An example of that being Dragon Age Inquisition. They released that 6 years after the initial release. It came to Steam 6 years later. Of course, it's not going to perform as well as the initial launch.
Fair enough, Morris. You will be our guinea pig.
Comparing the rates at which people had participation on Steam with Inquisition versus Veilguard, like, wow, what an increase. But they're, of course, ignoring the fact that it came out 6 years later. And as Smash
Is it?
JT points out here, in the article itself, Kotaku is coping very hard. They cite a vocal minority who continues to downplay the significance of the numbers while claiming that Monster Hunter Wilds beta test outperforms the full
Yeah,
Dragon Age release. Well,
it
it did.
did. It flat out did. There are figures to support this. Real-time figures. There is no claim that Monster Hunter Wilds beta test outperformed it. There is literal, factual evidence. So yes, Kotaku is... Granted, nobody believes any game journalists anymore anyway. No game journalist on the planet is believed anymore. But when Kotaku says that it is a claim that they did better, when there's literal fucking evidence, we saw it on the last slide Rev presented. We fucking saw it. Kotaku, go fuck yourself. Like, honestly, this should be... They probably can't. But, who is it? It's Capcom that does Monster Hunter. I have to wonder if someone at Capcom, just to fuck with Kotaku, bear in mind, this is not out of seriousness. This is just to fuck with Kotaku. After the Kotaku article said this, if Capcom didn't go, should we file a cease and desist or file a defamation against Kotaku for saying that it's a claim that Monster Hunter Wilds outperformed Dragon Age when there's actual evidence to support it broadly? Again, not because Capcom feels threatened in any way, but just to fuck with them. Just to fuck with Kotaku and say, you're a piece of shit. We know we're better than you. And now we're going to ruin your reputation even further. Yeah, this could, file a libel suit just to basically either to put Kotaku under or make him shut the fuck up. But Leo, they didn't try to claim that it was bad, but they're trying to say, oh, they're claiming Monster Hunter outperformed Dragon Age, when Monster Hunter demonstrably performed better than Dragon Age. Monster Hunter Beta had, 243,000 players? Dragon Age maxed out at 84,000. It was a demonstrably different distance where Monster Hunter Wild beta test was doing better than Dragon Age. There is actual evidence. So that's why I'm just wondering if Capcom wanted to just, for giggles, it's 400,000 from the beta. Excuse me, 400,000 from the beta. That's why I'm wondering if someone at Capcom, for the giggles, talked about maybe filing a libel or, some kind of suit against, maybe even as simple as a cease and desist against Kotaku just to fuck with them.
That is just a fact. The beta for Monster Hunter Wilds had around 400,000 in-game players. Yes, it is a beta. It's not free to play, but that number completely crushed Veilguard when it really shouldn't have. There should have been way more enthusiasm for Veilguard, but it just wasn't there. But again, we have to deal with these...
Wait. Volkmeyer continues to downplay significance. Okay, maybe I misread this. The vocal minority continues to downplay its significance, claiming... Okay. I see the angle that they're going here. They are running defense, but they are not claiming that Monster. Okay, so it's not a claim that Monster Hunter didn't outperform Dragon Age. Eh, okay, it's very talking about both sides of the mouth. So it's probably not liable. Now that I'm reading, I'm so focused on like talking to you guys, I didn't fully read this, and now I'm reading it. I think I'm wrong about this. Yeah, well, no, they're saying the vocal minority is downplaying significance, claiming that it outperformed it, and then the author follows it up with saying, yes, it does, but they're doing the buts. So, yeah.
For Veilguard, but it just wasn't there. But again, we have to deal with these journalists and their allies trying to do everything to tell you you're wrong for criticizing Veilguard, while they don't really stand behind anything they're saying. You can see Khalif Adams here, who is someone we've talked about before, a big defender of games journalists, begging people in his fields for a code for this game. Basically saying, I don't want to pay for this game, so give me a code. They don't really stand by anything they're doing. If you actually cared about this game and Bioware, you would go out and buy a copy, unless you can't afford it. And in that case, I would recommend spending less time on Twitter. But there's reasons why this game failed, and one of them is because this game is woke.
And, by the way, this is exactly the argument that has been made over and over and over again. The Stams and the woke crowd that are crowing and championing Dragon's Age because it's so inclusive and so diverse, and that's all that matters to them, they won't spend money on it. The people that these devs are supposedly making these games for don't buy their video games. This has been said for years now. For probably the last 5 years. People have been saying the gamers you are supposedly creating games for, developers, they don't exist. They're not going to spend money on your games. Perfect fucking example. This is someone who's standing for the journalists that are championing these bullshit games, and he's standing for the games themselves, but he's not willing to spend money on it. Is he, chat? Not at all.
On Twitter. But there's reasons why this game failed, and one of them is because this game is woke. In fact, it is one of the wokest games we've seen in quite some time, and it's really off-putting.
Now, I'm gonna call bullshit on that. I'm 100% calling bullshit on it's the wokest game we've seen in quite some time. Is it, like, woke? Yes. Absolutely. We have this. Writing notes to work through gender crap, showing to Rook maybe help. Neighbor is pretty, talking tough, both trans. Both open about being trans and said, I could share stuff if it helped me on my journey. I did not ask for a journey. Trans means was other gender, then changed. Wait, no, was always new thing. Just now acknowledged, not changing, affirming. Trans woman is woman. Not feeling right in body is dysphoria. Whole big thing. Could feel like want to be a guy instead of girl. No. Could feel like not connected to body. Not everyone does this. Okay, it's just a whole bunch of the transgender stuff. But, fuck, where was I going with this? Oh yeah. It is not the wokest game in a while. I will remind everybody. Dustborn exists. Dustborn is fucking woke DEI the game. Flat out. I will still remind everybody that that game exists. And it is literally DEI the game. So, Is Dragon Age Veilguard a woke DEI piece of shit? Absolutely. Is it the wokest game in a while? No. We still have the Dustborn still exists, and it only came out a couple months ago. Dustborn only came out, what, 2-3 months ago? So I am gonna make offer a correction for that.
To a lot of people, and that is reflected in this recent bombshell reported yesterday, where this user found what appears to be some notes that the team accidentally left into the PC version of this game. People are trying to guess as to what happened here, and some people are saying these are notes based on what they kind of are claiming what these characters would think or view themselves or other characters, saying notes like that these characters are trans, and trans means was other gender, then changed, wait, no, was always new thing, just now acknowledged, not changing, affirming, trans woman is woman. And over here talking about characters being non-binary and trying to correct and inform people on what being gender fluid is, and so on and so forth. And with the very shoddy grammatical errors and all this stuff, and just the ridiculous nature of what we're reading here for basically something to be included in a AAA release, myself and a lot of people just said, this is fake. Like, someone's doing a psyop here. They're trying to set you up. This has happened in the past where people who support woke games, they try to put out fake evidence and fake claims, and just they hope that people will believe it, and they say, aha,
they're trying to gaslight.
Gotcha, chud, you didn't do your research, which is very strange because the fact that people will believe just about anything at this point shows how bad the current state of the gaming industry is. But anyways, there is proof.
Yeah, that is far more telling. Is that something, like, if this is like a quote-unquote psyop, the fact that people can believe this is legit is indeed very telling. If someone was to put out, okay, perfect example, with the new Mass Effect game coming out, if someone were to put out a fake thing that's supposedly like notes or part of a script or something from Mass Effect 3, and it was fake, but in that script it said the lead character that you will play, you could like Dragon Age, you could be trans. There's actual trans storylines that, like, some seriously woke ass shit gets put into it. You would believe it. Because that is the state of games, and especially Bioware these days. So, someone putting out something fake like this, and then going, haha, you didn't do your research, this is all fake, is not the own that they think it is. Because if people think this can actually happen with the current state of the video game industry, that tells you how bad the video game industry is right now with some of these companies. Putting out something fake for EA, Bioware, Ubisoft, Bethesda, that's fucking wild shit and people believe it, is not a haha gotcha, it's fake, it's oh shit. Excuse me. It's an oh shit. These game devs are in such bad shape that people actually believe this crazy ass fake shit we put out. That's a far more telling thing these days. According to PS Tracker, Veilguard is the top 26th top played game just before Monster Hunter Wilds. Yeah, Moros, I'm gonna call bullshit. I am 100% calling bullshit on that.
Bad the current state of the gaming industry is. But anyways, there is proof out there definitively that this is actually in the game. So this is a screen recording of what's going on. And as you can see, this whole set of notes will pop up right on the side here. And you can see it reflects the actual notes that we were just looking at in the previous tweet. And some people have come forward, like Mark Kern, who is a veteran of the industry, and said their kind of thought process about what this might be. And as he says, it appears to be writer's notes that were just kind of accidentally slipped into the game, more like a diary that is explaining kind of how they view their characters and what their mindset might be in regards to certain things like their identity. But it accidentally slipped into the game, which is hard to believe. Like, how does something like that slip into a AAA release?
Look at some of these quotes. Trans woman is woman, we've seen that. Valid even if no words when younger. This grammatically makes no goddamn sense. Could feel uncomfortable with girls who act more feminine. Okay. No, I like girls. Girls smell good. What now? I like girls. Girls smell good. Creepy? Like hanging out with lords more than girls. And? How is this an indication of transgender? You like hanging out with the guys more than the girls. Here's a newsflash. There are plenty of girls who like hanging out with guys as opposed to girls. That is a thing. Just like there are plenty of guys who like hanging out with girls more than they like hanging out with guys. It doesn't make them transgender. It just means that they can relate more to the opposite gender than their own.
Release as big as
It's from a
Veilguard.
non-binary.
It
Of
almost
fucking
seems
course it
intentional,
is.
and as he points out here, one of the writers on the team is transgender, so it might make sense that these sorts of things slip through, but we don't have any confirmation that that was the particular writer responsible for those notes. But there's another reason why Veilguard is failing so hard, and it's because of the writing and also the voice acting as well. Okay, some of the writing in this game is just beyond atrocious. The writing is
This is what I've heard.
Juvenile and pandering. It's actually insulting to people. Like, I cannot believe some of the things they're trying to include in this game. And to prove that, let's watch another clip. Pretty much every time I cover Veilguard, I show another clip that I think, surely it can't get worse than this. Well, here is the latest clip. Let's check it out.
Buckle up.
Sounds like your mother was hard on you. Nah. I think your fingers are just perfect.
Yeah.
What?
So...
What?
Are you trying to have sex with me?
What? What now? How the fuck did we make that leap? Chat, listen to this again.
I think your fingers are just perfect.
I think your fingers are perfect. Number one, I'm praying to fucking God that there's some context before this clip that explains why she just said, I think your fingers are perfect.
Yeah. So... Are you trying to have sex with me?
Hadn't really thought that far ahead, but maybe?
Quick. Think about us having sex.
What the fuck? What the fuck? Did they seriously try to do a... You know what they did? You know what they did? The writers of this game are so fucking brain dead. I forget what the term for it is. They were like, we have to do the anime slapping the hand on the wall thing and trapping the other person against the wall. I forget what it's called off the top of my head, what the term is. Kabita. Or Kabita. Yes. The writers of this game said, Kabanan is hot, right? People love Kabanan. We have to put that into the game. How can we write it? And this is what they came up with. It was all centered around that one move. This entire scene. They couldn't figure out how to write it.
Think about us having sex.
Did E.L. James write this shit?
No, but I'm guessing people that love E.L. James wrote this shit, Revan. Chat, I don't know if I ever told you about this. Or if I'm sure some of you probably may have heard me say this before. This is E.L. James writing right now. And I know E.L. James writing because I tried to read 50 Shades of Grey. Oh, Xanax, don't worry, we're gonna watch it. I tried to read 50 Shades of Grey. I did. It's like, you would think, given the premise, you would think it'd be right up my alley, right? It's a romance story involving BDSM. You would think that's right up my alley. I thought the same thing. I'm like, cool. I'm gonna check this out. It's fucking huge. You know, I knew nothing about Twilight before this. I knew nothing about E.L. James before this. All I knew was it was a romance story, a super popular but one, in the mainstream about BDSM. So I said, fuck, I want to check this out. I downloaded the book. I started to read it. I think I managed to get 30 pages in before I said, I am fucking done. I got 30 pages in and went, I am fucking done. Not because of anything BDSM related. I didn't even get to that part yet. I stopped reading before I even got to the BDSM, and I've heard how bad it is in the book. I stopped because E.L. James is an absolute dog shit writer. She is absolute dog shit for writing. She cannot write. This was bad even from a young adult novel standpoint. It was so fucking bad. And I was just like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm not reading it. I'm not going to insult my brain by continuing to read this. And yes, I did hear that if I'd kept going, that would have stopped me because Christian Grey is a criminal, and they try to romanticize him. They literally tried to romanticize a fucking SA criminal. And no, I did not see the movies. I've seen plenty of reviews about the movies. I did not see the movies themselves, though, so I know just how fucking bad they are. This is E.L. James fucking writing. And by the way, Goros Thor, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the horror show. So yeah, this is E.L. James' level of bad fucking writing. That's not good.
About us having sex.
Is this what woke people find funny or sexy or both?
Sexy. Guaranteed, woke people find this sexy. Except the woke people aren't buying the game.
For the record, my sister who hates Twilight has said she will defend Stephanie Meyer if Meyer sued James over 50 Shades.
Sure. I mean, I've never read Stephanie Meyer either. I've actually heard that Stephanie Meyer's book, for as badly as she fucked up the vampire, like the lore of vampires, she did her own thing with vampires, but she wrote vampires without actually knowing what the fuck a vampire is. From what I've heard, Stephanie Meyer's books are actually reasonably well written. You know, you could talk about how the stupid love triangle and how vampires don't fucking sparkle all you want. I've heard that her books are actually reasonably well written. So even if the concept is shit, you can give credit to having a well written book. And from what I've heard, it's a reasonably well written book. Twilight Vampires, it's... Yeah, but Leo, one of the big things with Stephanie Meyers is that when she wrote the book, she was very public about the fact that she did not know what the fuck a vampire was. It's not about them existing in African lore. Someone came up with the African lore one probably to defend her when people were ripping on her for twinkling vampires. And so somebody found that. But she publicly has said that when she wrote Twilight, she never read or saw anything about vampires before. Riven, how she didn't know, I did not fucking know. But in interviews, she has said that when she wrote the book, she did not know what a vampire was. So,
both, I don't really know. You can't tell me this is good writing. You can't tell me this is good voice acting. It's a joke. It sounds really, really bad. And honestly, the main focus being the writing, that is what is different between Veilguard and other games that have woke aspects but succeed. I mean, a lot of people have been bringing up Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, Baldur's Gate 3, especially in the character creation process, has things that people will label as woke. However, that's where it ends. The character creation process, the game itself, and the writing, most importantly, is really, really good. That's why people enjoy the game and they can get over that other stuff.
Yeah.
And right now, Baldur's Gate 3 has a higher concurrent player count than Veilguard that just released only a few days ago. Now, what's interesting is Thomas Mahler would give his opinion on the writing of Veilguard. And if you forgot who Thomas Mahler is, we talked about him a couple of weeks ago. Basically, there was a woke influencer on Twitter trying to falsely claim that she worked for one of the games he was the director of. And he would go on Twitter and clarify that she does not work or never worked for him or his companies, and that her behavior online is something they don't want associated with any of their products or their companies. And of course, in response to that, Kotaku's Alyssa Mercante would call him a dickhead for correcting the record, but that's another story.
Alright, I'm not going to dig too deep into this. I'm simply just going to say, fuck Alyssa Mercante. She needs to get a fucking life. Because fuck you for telling the goddamn CEO of the company who says this person lying about working for my company is lying. They don't work for me. And Alyssa Mercante attacks him afterwards? No. Fuck you, Alyssa Mercante. Get off fucking Twitter. You should not have a job.
But anyways, he would add some thoughts to this, talking about how growing up in the 80s, even as a young boy, he always thought that TV shows were low-effort trash. Then over time, there was some more pushing of boundaries and quality improvements, where in the late 90s, television started to improve with its quality and its writing. But looking at games now, he says, it's clear to see that we're apparently moving back to the Stone Age of political correctness. I just watched a Dragon Age playthrough, and it's quite unfathomable how infantile and terrible the writing is. Everything feels sanitized and dehumanized. I don't know why we're suddenly thinking that this is okay. Your job as a writer is to write about things that are heartfelt, interesting, and true, to draw people into that world that you created. And if this is the best that you can come up with, you shouldn't be a writer in the first place. And he has some more.
100% agree. But these stands are specifically hiring writers to fit their narrative. That's the thing. Number one, we have not moved back to the Stone Age of political correctness. This is political correctness injected with just about every single illicit drug you can think of. This is political correctness on a never-ending bender right now. It's not Stone Age, it's fucking supercharged. And it's not everything is sanitized and dehumanized, it's everything is twisted and bent up into an unrecognizable fashion. I mean, dehumanized, sure, that's kind of dehumanizing. Not sanitized. It is hell fucking not sanitized. Absolutely dehumanized, but not sanitized. And the royal we don't think this is okay. Hence why the game is failing. Hence why all of these games are failing, because we don't think this is okay. But for some reason, the game developers continue to want to try to push this narrative for unknown reasons. And so what they're doing is they're hiring writers who fit with their sociological agenda to continue to push this narrative. They're specifically picking writers who will write this shit. They don't care about the quality of their writing. Let's be clear about this. These developers are not picking writers because they have the ability to write a quality story or narrative. They are not. They are picking writers that fit and will happily push their agenda. that it's not even so much desperate for jobs. They are thrilled to be able to push this narrative into a major AAA title. Because they, let's not forget, games are supposed to be marketed to young adults. So they are 100% trying to push this agenda onto young adults. They are trying to indoctrinate young adults. And they are happily and eagerly hiring writers to do that. That is the express purpose. The problem is, nobody's buying it. Nobody's spending money on these games. And all of these games are failing, and development studios are going under.
More thoughts, but you kind of get the gist at this point. He is absolutely dunking on these writers for Veilguard because he should.
Yeah,
He's someone
Gorthor.
who's very successful.
Gorthor, you're right. We've talked about this with Sweet Baby Inc. and everything. But the companies are going right along with it. They are. They're going right along with it. Which means they're accepting of it and they're even promoting it. So you hold the companies have to be held responsible for it.
In the industry and knows what good writing looks like, and he's looking at the pandering and infantile writing of Veilguard and saying that is not acceptable for a AAA release. So yeah, I will not buy what these journalists are trying to say about Veilguard. This game is a massive flop, and it deserves it because it's low quality, it's woke beyond belief, and combining those things together, it's not surprising this game is a massive disappointment. And yeah, that's really where Veilguard is at the moment. I appreciate you guys listening to the video. And as always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah. About what we expected. Now, granted, I did not know that they'd already moved on to Mass Effect. That part surprised me. It did. I did not know that that when it was like they were abandoning it, I did not realize that was what they were referring to. But holy shit.